Hello, welcome to the Happy Families podcast. Today, I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Mrs. Happy Families has asked for the pod, has said, I'm in charge today. Just trust me, it's going to be a cracker. Can you give me a hint? Because all you've said is I've got a story to tell, and then you're going to talk about the science. And you're putting a lot of faith in me that I'm going to know where to go and know what to do.
When have you ever not known what to say? Seriously.
A
couple of weeks ago, I had a really poignant experience that just highlighted how powerful the messages that our brain tells us impacts the way we see things and our perspective on things. And I want to talk about how our brain tells us stories, and more times than not, they're actually not true.
So this is a conversation about helping our kids to be resilient and not listen to negative messages?
Maybe. We'll see where it goes.
Stay with us. The surprise is next. Hello, welcome to the Happy Families podcast, where you get real parenting solutions every single day. It's Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson. Love kicking off the week with a surprise. Today, not only do you get real parenting solutions, you also get the same surprise that I'm getting. Mrs. Happy Families, you've asked for the pod. Kylie, what is it that you want to share with us? What was your story? What was your insight? Where are we going with this?
A handful of weeks ago, we booked in some family photos with a photographer, and I had looked at some of her photos and I'd seen a few location shots, and we decided we'd go to a local mountain and have some photos up during sunset. And the day of, she actually sent me a message and she said, I don't think we're going to get the money shot today. She said, it doesn't look like we're going to get much of a sunset. She said, it's overcast. There's not a lot of light. There won't be a lot of color in the sky. What would you like to do? And I thought for a minute, and I thought, you know what? Isn't that just so indicative of family life? You plan, and no matter how much planning you do, it just never works out the way you want it. And so we're just going to run with it.
Okay.
Regardless of how it works out. If it's raining, it's raining. We'll have photos in the rain. I just thought, let's just see how it goes. That afternoon, we showed up, and unbelievably, everything actually turned out amazing. But in the moment, when you're in front of the camera, it kind of feels a little bit surreal in that you have no idea what she's capturing because you have your back to the best of it, right? And so as we were leaving, I said to her, do you think we got a money shot today? And she just looked at me with her eyes like wide, and she was like, Kylie, you got so many money shots. It was just perfect. I can't believe that they turned out as well as they have. I can't wait to share them with you. She actually went home because she knew I was busting, and she just took a photo of her computer screen to just give me an idea. She said, this is the concept. This is what we're working with. And I was so excited. And if we backtrack a little bit, I've been on this little bit of a health kick, and I had got into my skinny jeans specifically for this photo shoot. And I was feeling amazing. When the photos arrived, oh my gosh, they were spectacular. And I looked at me specifically and was so amazed at how confident I seemed, how radiant I was. I felt like everything about the photos, including me, which is not usual. I don't usually see through that lens, was just perfect. And I was so grateful for it. Let's fast forward now a couple of weeks later. I'm having a really bad day. I got on the scales. They did not tell me what I wanted to see. And I was so frustrated. And I started berating myself and getting really, really worked up about the fact that I'm working really hard. I'm doing all the things and it just doesn't seem to be paying off. And I looked in the mirror and I just felt fat and I was getting really, really upset. And so I thought, you know what? I'll just go back and look at those photos because they made me feel amazing when I got them. And here's the crazy thing. I opened them up, and for the first time since I'd got them, all I could see were all the things that I was frustrated with about my body. And I was tearing myself apart. And I was absolutely blown away by that experience. And as I sat with it and realized what changed, the photos didn't change. Nothing about the photos changed. They were spectacular. I can't wait to have them on our walls. It was just my brain and what messages were going through it that changed the lens by which I saw them.
Yeah, the mindset.
Yeah. And so I wanted to talk about that today because I think it was such a powerful thing. whether it's photos or whether it's the way we view a relationship or the behaviour that our children place in front of us, the stimulus that they give to us, the perspective that we view it through changes everything.
Yeah. Let's talk about that after the break. I've been making notes furiously as you've been talking, thinking about all the sciencey things that I can say to make this make sense. And it really does tie in with the things that we're teaching our children, the language, the words we're using, and the way that they do or do not face the challenges and the bad lighting and the cranky moods and things in their lives. Stay with us. Some sciencey ideas to help our families to be happier next. We're back. This is the Happy Families podcast. If you are enjoying the podcast, please share it with your friends, your neighbours, your relatives, anyone that you think might be grateful for some ideas that can make their family be happier. Hopefully it's making your family happier. Kylie, a couple of things to pick up on out of your story, and I'd love to get your input as I go through these. The first thing, I just wanted to highlight that when you got the photos, the first thing you looked at was yourself.
I did.
Yep, because that's what we do. We don't look at everybody else in the photo. We look at ourselves. We always talk about how kids are so self-focused, how kids are so egocentric, how kids make it all about them. It's a human characteristic. That's what you do. Nobody ever gets the photos and says, oh, I wonder how everyone except me looked. Nobody's sort of scanning. Once you've had a good look at you, that's when you start to look at everybody else's faces. But usually you only notice you in the photo. That's just a fun aside. The things that I really wanted to touch on are based around this idea that our mind is an incredible storyteller. So let's start with the idea that our mind doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality. I'm going to ask you to do something. Okay, and obviously everyone who's listening can do this as well. I want you to think of your favorite fruit. For me, it's a passion fruit. So I'm going to use the word passion fruit, and hopefully you like them as well. Otherwise, maybe it's pineapple or strawberry. Let's go with passion fruit. You open up the fridge. You know how fructose always tastes better when it comes out of the fridge? So the sugars in the passion fruit, oh my goodness, they're going to be so much better because the passion fruit's cold. You open up the fridge and you see a passion fruit the size of the palm of your hand sitting on the shelf. You pull the passion fruit out, put it on the chopping board, and you chop through the center of it.
No, you don't chop through the center anymore.
Oh, you chop the top off and
don't
put your spoon
it.
in. That's right. Okay. Well, you need to in this case because as you chop through the center of it, you know how the passion fruit juice, some of it always spills out of the passion fruit onto the cutting board.
Do we tell everyone we slurp up the juice or should we not?
Sure, why not? That can be part of the story. So you see the juice slurp out or spill out onto the cutting board. You pick up that passion fruit. Now, I want you to keep your eyes closed. Hopefully you're not driving. Keep your eyes closed and imagine the spoon going into the passion fruit, pulling the seeds away from the edge. You're stirring it up just a little bit and then you lift that gigantic passion fruit pulp out of the passion fruit. You put it into your mouth and you can taste the sweetness exploding, the flavors right through your entire mouth. It goes up into your brain, the flavor, the taste, the excitement, the coldness of it. Now, let me ask you a quick question. What's happening inside your mouth right now?
I'm salivating.
Right. Were you salivating before I started talking about passion fruit and fructose and all those things?
No.
Not even almost. So do you have a passion fruit in your hand?
No.
Your brain doesn't know.
I am thinking about all the passion fruit growing on our vine right now.
I hope that they work out. But here's my point. Your brain doesn't know that it's not going to get a passion fruit. And because it's received the stimulus, it has started to create a physiological response. And it's the same thing around anxiety. It's the same thing around stress. It's the same thing around sadness and depression. You name the emotion. If you close your eyes and put yourself in a certain situation, you will have a physiological response. You did something recently where somebody had you hooked up to a breathing apparatus and they were testing your breathing. They had you in a nice, easy breathing cycle. Then they asked you to scroll through the news headlines and your breathing, even though none of the things that you were reading about affect you in any meaningful way, no tangible way, what happened to your breathing?
I almost stopped breathing. I didn't, but it was very shallow. So I'd been in this beautiful cycle of 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, just very rhythmic.
Six nice, easy, balanced breaths per minute.
And then he hands me his phone, asks me to just read while he's talking to me. So I'm only reading the headlines. I'm not even delving into.
And you're not reading about a war. You're reading about Prince Harry.
Yeah.
Right.
And all of a sudden, without knowing it, like I don't feel the change.
Yep.
I actually didn't feel the change until I saw it on the screen.
So the critical scientific insight that applies to our kids is that if the mind doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality, we can help our children and ourselves to change the script, to remove limiting beliefs, to start to feed fulfilling, positive, uplifting, energizing, vital, positive information. Now, this is not happyology. This is not, let's just pretend that everything's great. Rather, this is about saying, what is it that matters to me? And can I focus on that? Which brings me to my second point. I've kind of segued from one to the other anyway. My second point is this. We move towards what we focus on. What do I mean by that? If you are riding a skateboard, if you are riding a push bike, if you are riding a motorcycle, maybe even if you're driving a car, not quite so much with a car, although somewhat, if you turn your head and look in a certain direction, whether you're on any of those forms of transport, what happens is you start to move in that direction. You and I have done this on the bike quite a lot. I'm trying to help you to corner a little bit better, especially after your most recent crash. And what I keep on emphasizing is don't look where you're going. Look where you want to go. So if you're going around a roundabout, don't look 2-3 meters in front of the wheel, which is where the bike's kind of going. Instead, keep your head up and look down the street that you're turning into, because the bike will automatically go there. Happens on skateboards, happens on surfboards, happens on motorcycles, happens in cars, believe it or not. You know, when you're driving and you look into the back seat because the kids are there and they're annoying you, and then when you look back to the front of the vehicle again, the car has veered in the direction you looked. If you looked over your left shoulder, the car has moved to the left shoulder. If you looked over your right shoulder, the car has moved across a little bit into the right lane. And so we move towards whatever we're focusing on. You, in that scenario, in your story, your perspective has shifted because you're focused on all the negatives. So what happens? Well, you look at the pictures and all you see is the negatives. You're having a lousy day and all you can think about is all the lousy stuff that's going on. Again, at the risk of moving a little close for comfort into happyology, we really can write new scripts. We really can say, I know that things can be challenging, but... And what the great thing about the word but, when you say it like this, when you say but, you're basically saying to your mind, ignore everything that I just said. And usually we see it in a negative light. Like, yeah, she's a really good kid, but lately she's been driving me crazy, right? We can spin that around. We can say, lately she's been driving me crazy, but she's a really good kid. And our mind holds on to what happens after the but, not before the but. It's the same with that photo you're looking at. You're looking at the photo and you're in a lousy frame of reference, you move towards the negative. You're looking at the photos in a positive frame of reference and you see the colors, you see the smiles, you see the joy, and you remember the fact that all of our children were well behaved for an entire hour and a half while we took family photos one afternoon. Never happened before, may never happen again, but it happened. It happened. And notice there's the but, it happened, and now we feel good because it happened.
I find this so curious because it makes so much sense, and yet we push against it so much.
Yes.
But I had another really powerful experience just recently where I did a meditation, and the instructor asked me to think of somebody I loved and to offer them happiness and peace and freedom. And,
easy and beautiful.
And I did it easily. The interesting thing was, straight after that, he asked me to think about somebody who, like a relationship that was challenging me. And funnily enough, my mind took me to the exact same person who I had
Was it me?
chosen the first time, who I loved.
You're not answering. Was it me?
It was not you.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Okay.
It was not you. But I was surprised at both. Firstly, because this person was challenging me, but when he asked me to think about somebody, they were the first person I thought of. And I was able to say those words beautifully, calmly, and I'm going to say truthfully in that situation.
Yep.
When he asked me to think about them, he wasn't asking me to think of the same person, but that's just how my brain worked. When he asked me to think of a person that I was challenged by, when I tried to say those same words to the same person that I had only seconds ago been able to say so truthfully and so lovingly, I couldn't do it.
Right. Yeah, because you're looking through a different lens.
I couldn't do it, and I didn't understand it at the time. But as we're talking, in one breath, I was looking through the eyes of love because I love this person deeply. But as soon as I looked through another lens, it was a lens of hurt because I started to think about all the things they've done that have hurt me. And therefore, I was unable.
Wishing them happiness and peace when they're doing it. Yeah. So let's bring this back into the family context before I share my last of my 3 ideas that have popped into my head listening to your story. In the family context, it's very easy to put that filter across our children or our spouse or partner. Similarly, our employment or our neighbours. We put this across and we say, geez, they drive me crazy. They're always so exhausting. They're such fussy eaters. They never go to bed on time. They're always at each other. I can't get them off the screen. And all of these things become bigger and bigger and bigger because we move towards what we focus on and our mind doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality. And we're making this the reality.
I love how you shifted your comment before. You said, she's such a good kid, but right now she's driving me crazy. Or
right now she's driving me crazy, but she's such a good kid.
That's a really simple reframe, right? Like you actually haven't changed anything that you've said.
Right.
You're sitting in reality. Reality is right now she is driving me insane. She is pushing every button. I don't know how to do this, but I'm able to recognize that we're in a moment as opposed to this is who she is.
Perfect. And we say the same thing about our families, right? I can't believe we used to be happy, but my goodness, they're driving me crazy. Versus they're driving me crazy, but we used to be happy, which means we can probably be happy again.
Yeah.
In fact, when I used to do one of my workshops in particular, the question was always, when has your family been the happiest? Because if you've been there once, you can get back there again. Last thing that I need to say, because our time is well and truly spent, and that is that our mind does have a negativity bias. Researchers have shown, especially in Western educated, industrialized, rich democratic nations like our own, that we have a negativity bias. Interestingly, there's a guy called Eric Hoffer who wrote a book about creating movements, things that are not normally associated with parenting. And he highlights that the nearer you get to your ideal, the nearer you get to your goal, the more dissatisfied you become. Because it's within reach and you're still not there, and it becomes increasingly frustrating. It's so enticing and it's like, oh my goodness, I've worked so hard, and we actually get quite upset about it. But there is a really strong negativity bias. Let me ask you a question. You're looking at a bowl of ice cream, strawberries on top, chocolate ice cream.
I don't eat that anymore. That's not very enticing.
That's right, you are healthy. But when you were less healthy, when you were looking at that bowl of chocolate ice cream with strawberries sprinkled across the top, what's happening inside your mind? What's happening inside your body?
Give me more. I want it right now.
Yeah, cravings, right? Because it looks so good. Let's say you're looking at that bowl of ice cream and out of nowhere, 4 cockroaches spring up from the bottom of the bowl and run across the ice cream and the strawberries. Who knows how they got into the bowl, but they were in the bowl. The ice cream went in on top of them. They've just found their way out of it, and they've run across the ice cream and the strawberries. How enticing.
Oh, that's in the bin.
You're not going to eat it, right?
No.
So same ice cream, same strawberries, but it's been tainted with that negativity. Our goal, as I think about all the things that you've talked about, our goal is to maintain an awareness that we are easily drawn to the negative in spite of all the goodness that's in our lives. It's to remember that we move towards what we focus on, so therefore we have to be intentional about shifting our focus to either what we want or what is currently working. Because while we focus on the strengths and the positives, we get better outcomes. And lastly, the mind doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality, which means that if things are not good in reality, let's create the fantasy that we want, start thinking about it, and we will find that our body and mind automatically move towards it.
As I've gone through these experiences over the last few weeks, the thing that really stands out to me, you talk about negative bias. What I have recognized in myself is that those negative thoughts, they're really bossy and they're really loud.
Great word, yeah.
Comparative to the positive feelings that we have. You think about those positive feelings, they're quiet, they're calm, there's an element of peace to them. And if we are going to be able to focus on those, we actually have to be bossy with our thoughts. We actually have to take control and say, you know what, you're too loud. I don't want you. And give yourself the time to listen to the smaller voice that's actually probably more attuned to positive reality.
Your mind is a great storyteller. Let's make sure that it's telling you great stories. Oh, do you like what I did that as well? I did it with the button, then I did it with the stories. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides our research, admin, and other support. I like that. I reckon you should do more podcasts that I don't have to be involved in. If I just get to sit here and listen to you tell stories and then share a psychological principle, I think that we've got a lifetime of podcasts. That was fun.
Oh, really?
That was great. We should do that more often.
You're gonna let me have a bit more control these days.
For more information about making your family happier, visit happyfamilies.com.au and please jump online and pre-order the brand new book, Boys, Building Strong Young Men from the Inside Out. The brand new book by me is out in the next few weeks, and you can pre-order it now from booktopia.com.au. That's Boys, Building Strong Young Men from the Inside Out. Buy it now.